Good morning, friends. I'm in my first sweatshirt or sweat set of the season, which kind of feels wild because I know it's October, but it genuinely just still feels like it should be summer to me. Maybe because I kind of want summer to still be here. I'm just really going to miss like the warm weather and like getting outside and stuff whenever it is warm. Decided to wake up and watch the sunrise this morning, and it is beautiful. This is like one of the best ways to start my day. I also brought out Local Woman Missing and some like little coloring books. I love to color, but I just don't do it nearly enough. But I want to start like listening to audiobooks while I color, just because I feel like it's a really nice way to relax. I will link these coloring books or similar ones below, and these are also the best like little markers. They make it really easy to color like between the lines. But yeah, I'm gonna start Local Woman Missing this morning, and we're gonna be reading lots of different types of books in this video. I want to do like a video where I'm reading lots of different types of genres, so that's what this video is going to be. I think I'm going to start with a thriller, then maybe read a romance, maybe read a fantasy, and then maybe like a work of fiction, depending on how much I can read. I don't know how much I'm going to get through this morning or this week. It just really depends on like my reading mood. I have been in like a bingeable mood lately, and I think it's because I read that book by Brittany Cherry, The Fire Between High and Low, not too long ago, and I read it in one day. So I like want to get that feeling again, like the binging a book feeling, like you can't put the book down type of feeling. So hopefully this thriller gives me that vibe. I feel like I'm the only person who isn't like obsessed with this book. I'm on page 290 and it's just started to pick up. I feel like most of the book I've just kind of been like, what's gonna happen? I don't know, but I don't really care type of thing. And now it's like picking up, but it almost feels like it's too late. And I feel like my favorite types of thrillers are when I get like just nuggets here and there that keep me invested throughout the story instead of like having a huge build up to the end, because that's kind of what this feels like. There's also so many POVs in this book. Like the POVs that you read are Meredith, Kate, and Leo. I think that those are the only ones. Yeah, Meredith, Kate, Leo. But there are so many characters that they talk about. There's like I think his name is Jason and Josh. There's Delilah, there's Shelby, there's B, and then of course there's Kate, Meredith, Leo, and then I think there's like one more person. There's like this I think her name's Cassandra. Like there's just other people, and I'm like, how am I supposed to keep up with all of these characters' names and like their importance and stuff? And they have different timelines, like they go back and forth between 11 years ago and current time. So it just feels like there's a lot going on, but nothing's happening. And I know so many people like were obsessed with this book and have been obsessed with it, but I don't know, it's just not my kind of thriller. I feel like there hasn't been a ton that's happened, or maybe there's too much happening. I don't know. It just is like a lot's happening, but nothing's happening. Does that make any sense? Like, I don't know. I'm not super invested in it. It's my first read by Mary Q. Becca. Won't be my last. I definitely will do like another read for sure, but this is definitely one that is like not really holding my attention as much. I think I'm gonna start a thriller next. Or not a thriller, a fantasy next, just to keep in theme with like the cozy fall vibes, because I feel like thrillers definitely give fall. I thought about starting a Cherie LaPena thriller like before I started this one, but then I was just like telling myself I need to start branching out more and trying new authors, because like I know the authors that I love and it's easy for me to stick with authors that I love. Like in the last video, or like one of my last vlogs, I like read Natasha Bishop's book, loved it. but it's like, duh, I love Natasha Bishop's book. She's one of my auto-buy authors. And then in the vlog before that, I read Brittany Cherry's book. And maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe in every video, I'll try to like read one of my favorite authors, like one that I know that I'll love, and then try some new ones, because like the new ones, sometimes I hit and sometimes I don't. Like sometimes I find like a gem, like a gold mine, like someone that I'm just like, oh, I know I'm gonna love to read their books from like here to eternity. And then other times I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I just am not obsessed with the story. And I know in my last video I said that maybe I would start DNFing books more, like, because I literally never DNF books. But I'm so nosy. Like, I want to know what happens. Like, I'm nosy when it comes to books. Not really with, like, anything else. Like, I literally don't care. But, like, when it comes to books, like, I need to know the ending. And I feel like if I just look up the ending, it's not going to fulfill that, like, need inside of me that is, like, you need to know, like, every little detail. Because, like, even when you look up the ending or, like, plot or whatever of a story, it's never as in-depth as it would be if you read it. So, yeah. And then I also think about, like, books becoming movies. Like, I don't know if you guys saw, but The Housemaid by Frida McFadden is becoming, like, a movie or TV series or something. They, like, just made an Instagram, like, about it. And, what's her name? Is it Dakota Fanning? Some, like actress who I think literally would be perfect for the like role. She like announced it, and she's like a bigger like actress. And yeah, I was like, oh my god, thank goodness I've read the entire series, so now I don't feel like I need to like read it and like rush to finish the series before it comes out. But I am very big on that. Like, I have to read the book before the series or show comes out. Granted, sometimes I don't even watch the show. Like, The Summer Turned Pretty, still haven't watched the like newest season that came out. Haven't watched the newest season of Bridgerton. That is one series though I haven't like read the books, but it was because I just didn't think I would be into like period pieces. As you guys can tell, I'm so tired. I'm yawning, and like obviously I'm reading in bed, but this is why I have to read in the morning instead of reading at night, because at night my eyes just start to close and like I get tired so fast, whereas in the morning it's like I'm fresh, I'm awake, I have energy because I've had a whole night of sleep, versus like today it's like been a long day of work and it's like, okay, now like try to read. Like, yeah, right, I'm literally about to fall asleep. So I think I'm just gonna go to bed and then wake up tomorrow and finish this and then like start another book. I think I'm gonna start a fantasy. One surefire way to keep me out of a slump is to read a romance book. I try to read like a book that I know I'm gonna love after I read a book that was just kind of like meh for me. And Local Woman Missing was like just okay. So I'm gonna read The Vows. This has been on my TBR for a while, and in the fall, my cozy romance reads are always like heavy hitters when it comes to emotions and like the types of books that like make you cry. And I have like a whole list of those, and those are the ones that I grabbed for in this season. I don't know, I feel like a lot of people don't read romance in the winter or in the fall, and for me, it's one of the best times to read romance because I can like feel emotions. Like I can get into those heavy, deep emotions. And that to me is giving cozy season. Whereas in the summer, that's like the cutesy romances, like the ones that make me smile, like the ones that aren't too deep or too heavy. Like I don't want to read anything too heavy in the summer. So I still read romance like all year long, but I have a distinct difference between what I like to read. And I think that this is going to be the type of book that I'm looking for. I feel like this is the type of book that I'm just going to want to binge. I'm on chapter 2 on page 17, and it says, sometimes I swear adulthood is staring at your phone and wondering which of your friends has enough time to deal with your latest emotional meltdown, and then realizing none of them do. I feel like that is so, like, such a honest quote, because as we get older, like, I don't know, I feel like when we were younger, it was so much easier to like open up and be vulnerable, and maybe it's because life was a little bit easier then, or maybe we just didn't know like boundaries, I don't know. But like when I was in high school, I swear I would tell my friends everything. Like the second something would happen, I would like share. And I feel like the older I've gotten, the more I'm like, do they have the capacity to like take on my feelings and emotions? Like they have a lot going on, like maybe I shouldn't like share. And I know that that's something that a lot of like adults think about, and I wonder like what the shift is for that. Like at what point do we feel like our like feelings to our friends aren't like things that they would want to be there for? And I do know, I mean, like if a friend wants to talk to me, like I'm always open to listen, but then again, there are times where it's like hard to hold space for their feelings too. So maybe like when we've been the friend who's had to like listen and been there for the friend who needs it, and like we aren't even really okay, maybe that's like when we started to kind of like think differently about how we share. I don't know. That quote, I was just like, oh my gosh, like that is so true. I feel like this is going to be a book that's definitely going to be like a very deep emotional read. Page 30, and loving this book. I got to a part that I just was like, this just hits. And it says, an old ache is threaded through his voice. I know how it hurt him to watch his parents' previously solid marriage fall apart, how out of control it made eldest responsible Eli feel to see everyone in his family suffer, himself included. His adult belief system grew from that disaster. Equaling that, financial stability that he controlled meant he'd never have to feel that way again. And I don't know, it's just like so wild how the things we go through as kids can like fully shape us as adults, especially if we don't work through our trauma. Like Eli has like just so much trauma in his younger life that now as an adult, he wants to like be so financially stable that he can like feel like things aren't ever gonna spiral out of control. And a lot of people on the outside would be like, oh, he's a hard worker, like that's a great thing. And sometimes people can't see how trauma is negatively affecting you, because when you look at him on the outside, it's like, oh, this guy is like so successful, so hardworking. But then when you really dig deeper, you see that his focus on work has taken over his relationships and friendships, so much so that like it's detrimental to his like well-being. But like he can't let go of like work, and he cannot like let go of that fear that he has. They do mention in this something that like she wanted him to do when they were together, and then he like ends up doing, which I think could eventually help him to get to a place, or maybe he is in a place, I don't know, where he's able to like have better relationships and stuff. But it's wild how the things we go through as kids still continue to affect us as adults, and it's not always something that people can see as quote unquote negative. Like people wouldn't say that that's a negative trait for him to be a hard worker, but like we know that he is putting everything, like he's putting his work above everything else because of that like need for him to feel stability in like, you know, a financial way. So I don't know, this book is good. It's also making me think so much about my own life, and it's like, what things that what like trauma have I went through that hasn't been like worked through, that is manifesting itself in a negative way, but maybe I'm not realizing it because on the outside it doesn't look negative. Just like to the average person, like it would look good. I don't know, I feel like it's just bringing up so many deeper thoughts about things, which I love books like that. I'm on page 131, so I've literally like read one page since I last picked up the camera. But she asks Eli, she goes, like, how are things at home? And he was like, oh, it's good. And she's like, that's amazing. And he's like, yeah, it was a long time coming. Everything falling into place like that, I mean. He pauses, darting a quick glance at me before returning to loosening the pipe. For a long time, I thought if my family didn't look like it did before all of our ish went down, then how could we ever be happy like that again? His attention shifts back to me, and this time his gaze is a lingering trance. They really are, though, and it's different, but that's okay. And that just hit me because this year has been such a hard year. Like, I don't even think I can fully explain all of the feelings that I've went through this year with my mom moving and my dad passing and my dog passing and my whole family just like completely crumbling. And not because like we're not a like great family unit, but because the way like we have like always been is just like so different. Like usually when we get together for the holidays, it's at mom's house, or whenever we have people's birthdays, we always go to mom's house. Like now trying to figure out like how we're gonna do the holidays and like do things when she's like a 4-hour plane ride away, and you know, going to my dad's gravesite by ourselves, and just like so many different things that like have been so hard. And a large part of it is like obviously navigating the grief, but also navigating the changes. Reading this, it's like, okay, things don't always have to be the same for them to be good. Like, he's like, it's different, but that's okay. And that was just like, I need to hear that so bad. Like, it can be okay when things are different. Like, it won't always feel so like sad to have the holidays, and it won't always feel so like emotional to not have the family unit that we've always had. Like, I know I've shared, like, my brother has like mental health struggles that he's went through for the past few years, and like I go see him, but he's like an hour and a half away, and like he can't drive to come see us. And so like whenever we have holidays, like usually someone has to go an hour and a half to pick him up and then bring him here, and you know, then they have to get him back to like do all of his like medical things, and like, you know, just it's so different. And sometimes I'm like, I wish I could go back to being a kid again when things were just like, they felt easier, like in a sense of like our family, you know, it's like we being a unit and like hang out all the time, and like Friday night pizza nights, and like all these good memories. And like, you can't go back. And honestly, even if I went back, I'm sure that there would be things that I just like, am like, oh my God, I like want this time in my life to be over. But you can't go back, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to be good again. So that quote, it's just like, it's different, but that's okay. Like, I needed to hear that so bad, like so bad. Excited to start another book that is definitely giving the fall vibes, and it's like a YA. So I've read so far a thriller, a romance, a YA book, and I'm gonna start a fantasy whenever I finish one of the 2 books that I'm reading. You guys know how I am. I like to read like multiple books at a time, but this book in particular is so good. And you guys know I've been kind of like, I don't know if I'm gonna be into YA, like I don't know if I like it anymore. I just think I wasn't finding the right young adult books for me. Like, this is so funny. It's about Corinne and a dog walker who has a dog walking business that is kind of like, I don't know, he's kind of had like a secret business in a sense that like he's the only person who owns the business, but like the people whose dogs he's walking, they think that he like works for a company or a corporation. So she finds that out, decides to blackmail him. Literally that says, it's all said on the back. She decides to blackmail him and is like, hey, help me like be cool kind of thing. And he's like, you want me to she's the man you? Like, this whole book, I've like laughed so many times because Corinne, who like they call Corey, is like quirky. She like literally the page that I'm on right now, she goes, so if you've never had a girlfriend, then are you still a virgin? And it says, my eyes widen at her sheer volume. The young black guy sitting to our left chuckles openly after glancing my way. And he goes, I already told you, I whisper, I'm not discussing that. And she goes, guys are so strange, she laughs. You'll text and talk about the filthiest things imaginable, openly, loudly, in the middle of the school library, but heaven forbid you answer a direct question about your practical sex life. Like, she's just so like inexperienced, she's like quirky, but she's confident in like who she is, but she just doesn't really have like a lot of friends. And so he's kind of like helping her like get connected to people and that kind of thing, because he like hangs out with all the like popular people, but he doesn't really open himself up because he pretends to be rich like a lot of the people who go to his school. So they don't really know like the real him. And he is also kind of using her, but without her knowledge, because her mom is the dean of the school that he like wants to go to. So like she doesn't know that he's still getting something out of their little like bargain, because she's like, oh, well, like I kind of got like what I wanted, which is like friends. So like pretty much in her head, she's kind of thinking like we're friends. And he's like, well, like we are, but I also have this like underlying motive. So I feel like that's gonna come to a head at some point in this book, like every young adult book that I've probably ever read. And I'm loving this. I'm loving the author's writing. If you like books from a guy's point of view, you need to pick this one up because it's only told in his POV and it's so funny. And I feel like if you have maybe like someone in your life who just like wants to read young adult books that are from a guy's perspective, I feel like this feels very realistic to guys at that age. Like sometimes I feel like YA books, they don't accurately represent people who are in high school. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, like did the author ever go through high school? Like this feels very realistic. Like he's trying to put on a show because he doesn't want people to see the real him, because he thinks if they see the real him, they won't like him. He's popular, like, and there's literally a point where they go to this party and everyone's like, oh my God, his abs like look so good. And then Corinne, she goes, is that body oil? Like, are you wearing body oil? Like she just calls him out and he's just like, shh, like leave me alone. Like I'm trying to be cool. So she's kind of like making him like, I don't know, think about like all he does to like try to be cool, like look good and all this stuff. And she's just like, I'm just gonna be me and hope that people like me. So it is really good so far. I did not expect to love it as much as I do because again, I'm not like the biggest fan of young adult books, but I feel like there's so many like really deeper themes in this, but also it's really funny. So I think I'm gonna go outside and read. I'm not really sure which book I'm gonna pick up whenever I go outside, but it's the sunset. And I love watching the sunset on our dock. So I think I'm gonna go do that and bring maybe this book and the Vows and decide which one I wanna read out there. like I've read in this book in a really long time. Like, did you guys hear that? That was a fish. That was so loud. It literally just like hopped out of the water. Oh my gosh. We have so many fish around our dock. We need to honestly go fishing more because they're just always just flopping around over here. But the yearning in this book, I just can't get over it. Like, there's a part, I'm on 178, where they're like tasting cupcakes together, and they're like pretending to be together because they like really want to get this like cupcake owner to make a cake for their friend's wedding, but like everyone else has just like told them no, and so they're just like pretending to be a couple because she's like, oh, I usually like to meet with a couple, and then George is like, oh, we're the couple. Like, she just kind of like panicked, and so she's like asking him all these questions, and so like as a reader you're learning about them as a couple, and she goes, where was I? She goes, are we talking love at first sight? And she goes, no. And then Eli goes, yes. And she's like, I gape at him, shocked he's weaving such an integral part of our story into this moment. He must be saying it because it's familiar, which makes it more believable. And she goes, ooh, very juicy. And then she's like, try this like cake. And he goes, they're eating the cake, and he goes, she had fake pepperonis all over her face, and she was still the most beautiful person in the room. Because like before you, like this part, you found out that they met like on Halloween, and she was like dressed as a pepperoni pizza. And it says his voice goes quiet, and he goes, what did he say? Oh my gosh, not me, losing my place. He goes, we were best friends for a long time, and that felt like winning the lottery to me, so scared to mess it up. We used to work at our friend's family winery every year, and the last summer we were there, things changed. We were going to be at the same school after a couple of years of distance, and once we were there, I just ... And then he goes, oh my gosh, I lost my place. Like, now I'm losing my place. And then she goes, I've been doing this for 23 years. I've discovered it's usually the imperfections that make people fall in love. Bad singers, would-be chefs who burn every meal. My partner snores like a freight train. Another fish. But when they travel for work, I can't sleep. Go figure, right? And then he says, I feel like there was one part that I like really wanted to read, but I am like, I cannot find it. I literally cannot find it anywhere. But this is just so, like, this whole book is so, like, endearing. It feels like I'm reading Love in Other Words. Like, the writing being, like, so soft, and you can tell the characters, like, have so much love for each other, but they're just, like, very scared because they dated 5 years prior and, like, it did not work out. I just wish that we could, like, sit and talk about this forever, like, together. Like, I mean, I guess I can. Like, I just, every single time I put this book down, or I turn the camera off, I see something in the book that I, like, immediately want to talk about just because it feels so warm. It feels cozy. It feels like a cozy fall read, and it's very emotional and very deep. I'm just, I'm loving it. I'm loving it so much. I definitely know this is going to be highly rated, but part of me is like, is this going to be a 5-star read? Like, I don't know. I'm loving this writing, and I'm loving how the characters, like, are so just soft with each other. I know I keep saying the same thing, but I can't even explain it any other way. They're just, like, very soft, and you can tell that they really love each other, and that's so hard to get across on the page when they literally have not done anything. You can just feel it. Like, you can feel their love, and that is, like, building so much more tension, and it's, like, a really nice, like, slow burn type of vibe, because I'm on page 179, and, like, I'm still really getting into, like, their feelings for each other, and, like, learning about things. Like, I don't even know why they, like, broke up to begin with. So, loving this. I feel like it's gonna be a 4.5 or a 5-star read. Like, and I have not had a 5-star read in, like, a minute. So, like, the last 5-star read was The Four Winds, but before that, like, I've only had, I think, like, 2 this year. I'm, like, very particular. Like, for my 5-star reads, I have to want to read them again. That is, like, a stipulation of all my 5 stars. Like, they have to be something that I want to read again, that I want to annotate, that I want to recommend to everybody. And this one is, it could be it. I don't know. much last night, and I just am so in love with this book. Like, I cannot get over it. I feel like this book is like a cutesy, fun, like romance, but also has so many like deep themes, and I keep finding myself like, I don't know, just feeling so connected to the main character. On page 183, she talks about how she like is scared to like not be near her friends because she feels like they'll kind of forget her. And she says, I'm FaceTiming with my friends during my 6 months there, snagging them in parts and pieces when our schedules allow, while they integrate themselves deeper into the lives of the same coupled friends behind them now, or their new person. In Jamie's case, saying no big deal when they tell me they can't visit after all, and deleting the list of places I wanted to take them. I'm FaceTiming them sometime next year from the apartment that only holds one body, mine. While Grace holds, and then I'm not gonna like say what she's holding, but it would be like a spoiler. It says, will their kids know me, or will some friend who lives down the street with a similarly tiny potato person become the godparent? And she's like, oh my God, am I going to be able to be a godparent? Is there a test I have to take to prove myself? Can godparents be long distance? And she's just like thinking of like in the future, as they grow old, as they have kids, as they get to like just adulthood, if she's not physically there, is she going to be able to still stay connected to her friends? I think that is such a deep fear for so many of us, and like especially with friends that we maybe grew up with and like live near and we're close, like in proximity to all the time. And then it says on page 183, she says, there's something that I like was thinking that I wanted to share, or is it 183 or 188? Oh yeah, on 188 she says what? I wrote it down somewhere. See, this is why I need to like start annotating more, because it's just like easier to find things. But a lot of the time I don't have a pen on me, so I don't want to like get up from where I am. And like I was reading outside last night, and then I was like obviously reading in bed, but I don't have like a pen near me. And she said, it's weird seeing your friends have other friends, and it made me feel far away again, you know? And she was like telling that to Eli. And then he says on 189, he goes, yeah, I literally need to start like annotating because I cannot find these parts when I look for them. But he goes, upheaval is kind of a crappy rite of passage in your 20s. And she goes, right. But he's like, yeah, but it hurts all the same to feel far away. And I don't know, that is like, it's such a deep fear, I feel, at least for me, that like if I'm out of sight, out of mind, that like I'm just gonna disappear from like the mind of like my brain or my friends' brains. Like I know for my family, like I will always be like, you know, someone that they remember or think about or whatever. But for friends, like I think about friends that I had when I was like younger, and there's some people like I don't ever think about. Like there's some people that I do, but like some that I don't. And I just like never want to turn into like that friend that just like disappears from someone's life just because I'm not close in proximity to them. So a lot of this book is her being scared that if she's like not physically near her friends, that they just like will move on with their lives. And like she is so connected to her friends because she's not super close with her family. So her friends are her family, but to them she's like, am I just like someone who can be easily forgotten? So she's always trying to like help and do like as much as she can to like be available for them whenever they need her. And she, like Eli said many times in this book, that like she never asked for anything, and that is so true because she doesn't want to be a burden to her friends. And I relate to that so much. Like I feel like this year, with like going just through so many changes, it's the first year that I've really like not been able to show up for my friends in the way that I used to. Not that I don't show up for them, but like just in the way that I used to. And I have had like a lot of thoughts like, will my friends still want to be like friends with me because like I'm not able to show up for them the way that I used to? Like, if I'm not emotionally available how I used to be, like, am I valuable as a friend? Like, all these thoughts I feel like are so, like, so Georgia. Like, Georgia's like having all these same thoughts in this book, and I'm like, oh my god, like, I'm just connecting so much to her as a character. So anyway, I'm really loving this book. I'm on page 212, but I have to get up and like go work out and stuff. You guys know I wake up at 5 a.m. every morning to like read. I woke up at 5 this morning and then I went back to sleep. Technically I woke up at 4:45. Brady wakes up at 4:30. I woke up at 4:45, but then I like went back to sleep. We're actually going out of town this weekend, so you guys are gonna get a vlog of like me like out of town and stuff. We're doing something really fun, but we're going out of town, so we have to catch a flight tonight. But I need to like edit this video and like finish this up. So I think I'm gonna finish up this book, finish up Charming as a Verb, and then start Powerful, because it's like a super short novella, and then we'll like do a wrap up. But I also think I want to do something really like fall-esque today, like something very fall. So we'll see if I have time. I don't know if I have time because I still need to like edit this video and like do other work stuff, but I think it would be super fun to do something like super fall vibes. But our flight isn't until late, so it's possible that we could make that happen, so we'll see. I almost decided not to come out to the apple orchard because one, it's an hour and a half away, which is quite the drive for an apple orchard, but I really wanted to pick some apples this season. And two, I was like, oh, I'm by myself, it'll be more fun to go with a friend. No, this is so fun. I've been like playing music on my phone, just like walking through the orchard. It's so pretty. I'm gonna see if I can find some apples. This is also taking me back to like when I was younger, because I used to pick apples like every week pretty much from this guy who lived across the street from us, and he had an apple orchard. So my mom would have all of us kids go over there, pick apples for him, and then we would get to take home like a bucket of apples for free. So like free labor for him and free labor for her. We were like, all we're getting out of this is apples, and we're working for hours. But now like I feel like I learned so much about hard work while I was picking his apple. These are not nearly as high as the ones we had to grab. We used to have to get on a ladder and get like all the way up to get like super high apples. And we would just like be so, it would be like a Saturday, and I would be at the top and someone would be at the bottom, or like both of us would be at the top, and we'd just be like, oh my gosh, I want this to be over. And now it's like I kind of want to go back to that time. Like it was just so, I don't know, so many good conversations with my siblings and stuff, because we would just all pick together. But these are not ripe, so I'm gonna go over and try to see if I can find some ripe ones down there. The one thing I specifically remember about our apple orchard picking days is that the guy who had the apple orchard, his name was Mr. Morrison, he never wanted us to drop apples on the ground. Not me dropping it on the ground, it's in his honor. So we would be like up in the air on these like ladders with these huge buckets of apples, just like dropping them in there, and then when we would get like them full, we would walk down so slowly, and sometimes as we walk down, a few would like fall off the tree, and he'd be like, hey, don't drop my apples. And we were like, okay, like we're doing our best. But now it's like I get it, because like that's money, you know, and once they're on the ground they don't sell them, at least that I know of. Like in this apple orchard they're like, don't pick up any off the ground. So yeah, I definitely, I don't know if I want to go back to hard labor on a Saturday morning. And I don't want to say hard because it's not hard, but labor on a Saturday morning that's like pretty much free. Like I'm exchanging my labor for some apples when I could just like buy them from the grocery store or buy them from an orchard myself. But it was a good experience. Completely forgotten all rules on how to pick apples, but I'm just gonna pull them and then put them into my little bag. These look ripe. These are in the section that say they're ripe, but they do look kind of small, so I kind of think I'm gonna look for a few bigger ones, maybe in another area. I found a bunch over here that look pretty big, and why am I sweating, guys? Like,
This is wild. Like the fact that people used to have to get their apples like this. I mean, I guess people still do, like someone has to do it, but like, it's just, I don't know, it's so easy for us to take for granted what we have now. Like this is wild. Fiction book, which is Dark Matter. I'm like still on the fence about it, but I've heard a lot of good things about it. I just don't feel like I'm gonna like science fiction, but I feel like this is a good mix between thrillers and like sci-fi, and you guys know I love a good thriller, so I think I'm going to get this one. Again, not 100% positive, but I always check and see like what you guys have said about books before I bring them home, and you guys have like really loved it, so I think I'm going to bring it home. I'm trying to find like the best copy that doesn't have like a ton of markings on it, but this one looks like a good one. I need someone to tell me if this book is actually overhyped or if it's like actually a good read. I feel like I just am not in the mood for like a mid-read, you know what I mean? I feel like this is just gonna be that. I have so many books in my basket that I have to decide on like which ones I want to bring home and which ones I want to read, and I'm trying to gravitate towards the one I like really want to read. So Nothing Like the Movies is a book that I thought I would for sure want to read, but I just don't know, like, I don't know, I haven't really been in the biggest YA mood lately, but then again, I'm loving the book that I'm reading right now, so like maybe I would like it. I think that I would enjoy a YA book if they have like deeper themes, and I feel like this book is supposed to have that because it's like set in college. But then also part of me is like, I don't know, my taste in books is so different from whenever I first started reading. Like when I first, or not first started, but when I first got back into reading, like when I first got back into reading and I read Better Than the Movies, I was obsessed with it. I thought it was so cute, and I really only read fluffy books for the most part, and now I've just like have just a wider range of the books that I enjoy. So this one, I think I'm gonna put it back on the shelf. Another book that I'm thinking about putting back is Frequent Flyers. This just came out, and this is one that I'm thinking maybe I could grab from the library, just because, I mean, I don't know, I feel like my library does such a great job of bringing books that I love, but I've never read anything from this author, and it is a thicker book. It's not super long, but for like a romance, it's almost 400 pages, so part of me is like, if I get it from the library and I don't end up reading it or something, no harm, no foul. I've been trying to just like be more selective about what I put on my shelf, because again, I like am someone who I will always encourage you to buy the book, because like if people can buy Starbucks drinks or coffee or whatever every single day or every other day and it's like no big deal, then it shouldn't be a big deal for me to like go book shopping, because honestly a drink at Starbucks is like $10 at this point. So I always encourage people to buy the book, but I feel like for me, I'm just trying to be super like selective about what I bring home. So this one I think is gonna stay here, but let me know if you guys like any of these and if I should like come back and grab them. And then the last book that I am gonna have stay here is this book, I Am Aya, The Way Home, I think that's what it's called. One of you guys recommended this one, and it actually looks like something I would absolutely love, because it's historical fiction, but it's set in like the present time and it goes back in history, and I think she's going home because her father's in the hospital. Yeah, her dad's in the hospital, so she's going home, and I think it brings up a lot of like stuff that she like kind of buried deep down, so part of me is like, I might love it, but also it's told in third person, and that's not always my favorite, but there is like a semi-romance interest in this, so part of me is like, I could love this. So this is the one that I'm having the hardest time putting back. It's in the fiction section, which is so funny because you guys know that I've always been like a romance girly, but I've been gravitating towards fiction, like contemporary fiction so much more. Yeah, this is the one I'm like really on the fence about, but I do have some other good books in my little basket. I have some books that I want to review, and then I also have a little Barnes & Noble book haul. I'm going to give you guys the review of the books that I finished first. I'm going to talk about this one, the one I just finished. It was the shortest one. It was the fastest one that I finished, and it wasn't my favorite. I kind of feel like it was like, I don't know, it would have been better if it had actually been in the first book, but because it was its own book, I kind of just feel like it was more of a money grab. Like, I don't know, I like the story, but I just am like, could we not have put this in Reckless? Or could we, I mean, I guess it couldn't have been in Reckless, but could we not have put it in Powerless? Like, it just seemed to be, like, I don't feel like I learned anything about Adina, and other than she freaking likes sticky buns, which is like, we get it. But I don't know, I just didn't feel super connected to her as a character. Oh my god, not me trying to take off this sticker. It does not want to come off, so I'm going to leave it on there. I didn't really feel connected to her as a character. The romance was heavy in this, which I did enjoy, but I also like kind of didn't, because I was expecting to go into a fantasy and this feel like a true fantasy, because you guys know I do not really read fantasy for real. So when I go into a fantasy, I'm expecting a fantasy, you know, not expecting a romance. If I wanted a romance, I would have just read one of my cutesy little romance books. So this one, I don't know, it just wasn't my favorite. I think I'm gonna rate this one 2.5 out of 5 stars. I know, and I feel like so many people have loved this book, and I really wanted to love it too, but it just, and maybe if I had read it in the order that the author like recommends, I would have liked it more, because I actually read Powerless, and then I read Reckless, and then I read this, which you're supposed to read Powerless, then Powerful, and then Reckless. But maybe if I had read this first, I would have enjoyed it more. It just kind of seemed like what was the point of this? I did really like the new character that they kind of brought into the story, and I'm excited to hear more about like what happens with them in future books and stuff, but yeah, I don't know. It wasn't my favorite, and it kind of felt like a waste of time to read. But I do think that if you like, if I had read this when it first came out before Reckless was released, and I just was like one of those like people who was obsessed with Powerless and like just wanted crumbs, I think I would have enjoyed this. Like, you guys know that I absolutely loved Magnolia Park series, and Never came out right before like Into the Dark came out, I'm pretty sure. And I read Never by Jessica Hastings, and it was good. It wasn't like my favorite book of hers, but I just was like so obsessed with the book because, well, not obsessed, but I enjoyed the book so much more because I was missing that author's writing, and I just like missed being in one of their worlds. I think if I had like read this in the in-between time before Reckless was released, I would have enjoyed this more. So I don't know, there's that. And then I also read Local Woman Missing. I'm kind of going through the ones I wasn't obsessed with first, but Local Woman Missing for me was a miss. Like, I think I'm gonna rate this one 2 stars. It just like, I was like, what are we doing? Like, it just, I don't know. And you guys know I love a good thriller, but this to me, I just feel like there were too many POVs. Like, I already shared my thoughts on this. There were too many POVs. The story was like, okay, like the thrilling part didn't really happen until the end, and then I like was hooked. But for a large part of this book, I was just like, where's the thrills? Like, I just don't see it. So I don't know, it just was not my favorite. And maybe because I had such high expectations for this one, because so many people loved it, maybe that's why I was just like, it was just okay. If I had went into it with just like average expectations, I probably would be like, okay, like it's maybe 3 stars. Like, I don't know. It just, for me, 2 stars. I don't know if I would necessarily recommend this to people who normally read thrillers. Maybe to people who read contemporary fiction and want to get into thrillers, because it doesn't feel super thrilling. Like, it just kind of feels like, I don't know, suburban moms, like, life and kind of thing. Then I read The Vows. Loved every single freaking second of this book. Loved every second of it. You guys can see it's all bent up and stuff because I just have held it so close to my heart. I was really debating on if I wanted to rate this 5 stars at the end of this or not, and I think I'm going to sit at a 4.5 out of 5 star rating. I almost always know when a book's going to be 5 stars at the 50 page mark. Like, it's a weird thing, but like, I almost always know that, and I think it's because I get this feeling at the 50 page mark or before where I'm like, oh my god, like this, I love this book. And I was feeling like this, but I didn't really feel like I was like in love with it until probably like 80, 100 pages, and I was like, ooh, I'm like loving it. But like, I don't know, I really, really love this one so much. It didn't give me the 5 star feeling, but like very, very close. Like, if I did like 0.8, this would probably be like 4.8, but like I only do 4.5 for 3.5. It just, it's, to me, it's like, we are not going to get into the 4.25, 4. You know, it's like, it's too much. So really love this one, and now I want to pick up You with a View by this author, because this book was so good. The writing was beautiful. Like, and these are the types of books that I love. Like, it's not lyrical, but the words on the page just hit. Like, it doesn't seem like the author is trying to make the book be like this masterpiece and have all these like quotable lines, you know what I mean? Like, it just seemed so authentic, and the characters felt so real. It was definitely steamy, but like not too much. They don't even really show a ton of that kind of stuff until I think like the 200 page mark almost, or something like that. So really love this one. Cannot wait to read more from this author. And then I read Charming as a Verb. This is the cutest YA book I've read in a very, very long time. I was debating as to whether I wanted to rate this 4.5 out of 5 stars. I'm dead serious. But I was like, it doesn't compare to this one, but it definitely is on a very high pedestal. So I'm going to rate this 4 stars. But if I really had to choose, like, and I was doing like the 2 point whatever, I would probably say like 4.25 or something, or like 4.3. I don't know. This is such a good story, and I didn't really talk about it a ton, mostly because I was just like in it. Like, it's one of those books where there weren't like any like quotable lines or like anything like that, but this feels like a book that would be so good for anyone, but it really makes you think about like how we put like status so high up on our list of like priorities when really it shouldn't matter at all. Like, it really should like matter most is like, what should matter most is our character. And you can really see that so much in this book. This is by a Black author. I don't ever really do a vlog, like ever, a reading blog without like sharing a book by a Black author. But this one I've never read anything of his, and I've heard things about this book specifically, but I haven't heard anything about his other books, and now I want to pick them up. This was just really good. It was funny. I love the characters. This is one I would definitely recommend, especially for fall, because it's set like in New York City, and it definitely gives those like cozy vibes. Really, really like this. So those are all the books that I read. Read 4 books this week, which is very rare. Well, I guess not rare, but like, I don't know, it wasn't even like a full week. So I am really happy about that. And then I also got some books. Now, don't yell at me about this first book, okay? Because I can do what I want. Don't yell at me about this. I ended up buying Luster. And I know I just got it from the library. I know. I don't need to hear it. I know. But I got this because one of you guys actually, I was asking, like, should I bring the library copy with me on vacation, or should I like leave it at home? And one of you guys was like, no, like, don't bring it. Like, I actually brought a library book with me somewhere and like ruined it, and then they like put like a $50 charge or something on my account. So then I got scared. So then I was like, I cannot do this to myself, so I'm just gonna buy it so that I can read it. And I don't know, that literally scared me. I was like, I cannot bring a library book with me on vacation, and we leave tonight. So I just wanted to bring it. So yeah, I have this book. Really excited to read this one. I'm like so funny because like I have a whole TBR of books, and then sometimes I'll see a book and I'll be like, ooh, I'm in the mood for that. And like, that's how I feel about this. Could that change? For sure. Like I could easily be like, not in the mood anymore, but right now I'm in the mood. So I ended up buying this. It's also by a Black author, and it's only like 227 pages. So I feel like I'll finish that fast. And then I ended up picking up 2 other books. I got Dark Matter, which I share with you guys inside the bookstore. I was really sad to actually put away some of the other books, but I didn't want to get anything that I didn't feel like I would actually read. Like some of the books that I was holding, I was just kind of on the fence about. And now at this point in my like reading life, I just don't really want to have a bunch of books that I'm like kind of like on the fence about. If I'm on the fence about it, I'll just get it from the library. I want to be like so obsessed and so excited and like constantly gravitating towards the books on my shelves, and this is one of those. I also have never read a science fiction book, so this will be my first, and I feel like it's a good introduction. Also, it says stream on Apple Plus TV, so I can like watch the movie, show, whatever after I read this, which is exciting. And this one is, I don't even want to say what it's about because I don't want to spoil it for anyone who may want to pick it up. This book right here is a book about a girl who I think she like starts going on dates with this guy, and then she finds out that he's like married, and then I think he like wants to be in an open relationship or something like that, and she's like she's never been in an open relationship. But it is giving messy. I read a quote from this in my library video, so go back and watch that video if you guys want to see the quote that I read from this. I do like cozy library shopping days, and the quote that I read was messy, but I'm kind of in the mood for a messy book. And Dark Matter, I don't want to say too much about it, but it's about like 2 alternate realities. And I think it's supposed to be a thriller too. So, or kind of like thriller vibes. And then this is a book I didn't even know was going to be at the bookstore, but I love this bookstore so much because this one is an hour and a half away, but it is so worth going to because they have so many great diverse reads and books that like are not in my barns at all, or even in a lot of like bookstores that are independent bookstores in town. I don't know, I'm so excited that this was in there, and it's called I'll Be Home for Christmas by Georgia K. Boone. This just came out, and it looks so good. It says, for fans of the holiday comes a heartwarming Christmas house swap rom-com debut in which finding yourself and finding love go hand in hand. Now, I'm gonna read the back of this, but I know some of you, well, not some of you, but like some of you have asked for me to like not read the back, but then some of you guys have asked me to read the backs of the book. I don't even know what this is about. I'm dead serious. The reason I found out about this book was because I posted a video about like, I think it was like books by Black authors that are like being newly released, or Cozy Reads something on my Instagram, and make sure you're following me there if you're not. Posted something over on there, and then the author of this book was like, hey, can I like promote my book? And I was like, oh my God, absolutely. So they like commented like that they had a new book coming out on the video. So I was like, well, let me go over to their like page and like see the book. And I was like, oh, it looks so cute. Let me go pick it up. So I genuinely do not even know what it's about. I literally just saw the cover from what she shared, and I was like, I want to buy it. I love supporting Black authors. This says, B. Tyler needs a break. In the bustling San Francisco tech community, no one ever seems to stand still, especially her perfect sister and business partner, Beth. So when her best friend suggests a getaway on the wildly popular house swap app Vacate, Bee decides a countryside retreat might be exactly what she needs. Clover Mills has had a year. Between losing her mother and making the complicated decision to leave her fiancé, sticking around the idyllic Christmas-obsessed town of Salem, Ohio just doesn't feel right. So when she hears about Vacate, she jumps at the chance to spend the holidays in the unfamiliar city of San Francisco. Soon enough, Bee is living in Clover's cozy Salem cottage, and Clover is living in Bee's sleek San Francisco apartment. As Clover can't seem to stop running into Bee's frustratingly gorgeous sister, and Bee finds herself spending more and more time with Clover's ultra charming ex-fiance Knox, the two women realize that this Christmas they may find just what they were looking for and more. This looks really good, and it's less than 300 pages, which is perfect for a Christmas book. It's a really unique take, and I love whenever like authors come out with books that do not feel like something I've read before, and this just feels very different. It also kind of looks like Like the words are really big, and you know how like YA books, the words are big and it looks super easy to read, like really fast? It looks like that on the inside of this book, which I'm a big word girl. Like I need to know there's gonna be a lot of dialogue, that it's gonna be like, you know, just the pages are gonna look right, and this is giving something that I would really like to read. So excited for that. I have these 3 books. I ended up putting 3 back, and I feel like these are the ones I'm gravitating towards the most. But if you guys did see any that I shared that you think that I'll like, let me know, and I might go back and pick them up. And then I also finished 4 books. So heading to somewhere warm this weekend, so I will make sure to post that vlog probably on Tuesday, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye guys!